The parents of a New York woman sexually assaulted and killed while jogging, coming face to face with her alleged killer in court. After months of searching for what officials described as a needle in a haystack, one officer's hunch finally led police to a suspect in this violent crime. Here's ABC's Mariskia Vacampo.
This is the last known footage of Karina Vetrano. Surveillance video taken just moments before the 30-year-old New York City woman was beaten and strangled to death while on a late afternoon run.
We need to find this predator.
Now, more than 6 months after the grisly murder,
Chanel, why'd you do it? Why'd you kill her?
police say they found the needle in the haystack, tracking down the man they believe is responsible. 20-year-old Chanel Lewis lived 3.5 miles away from the crime scene with his mother.
Follow-up investigation developed forensic evidence linking him to the crime. Lewis was interviewed by detectives and made detailed, incriminating statements and admissions. Charges are now pending. This is a very good day for justice in New York City.
Back here at home, the mystery murder of a jogger killed in New York City.
Back in August, the New York City murder grabbed national headlines. The story of the beautiful young woman with a large social media following, never to be seen alive again.
Right now, there's evidence of strangulation, asphyxiation.
She just never stopped smiling over the course of 4 years that I knew her.
She lit up the room when she walked in.
Her father, her usual running partner, stayed home that day because of a back injury. He grew concerned after he couldn't reach his daughter shortly after she set out on her run. The retired firefighter calling the police and joining them on the search for Karina. He was the one to find her body, face down in a marsh, 15 feet away from the trail, just 4 hours after she left her home.
It is wrong to kill an innocent young woman.
Vetrano's mother issuing a fiery promise to the killer.
I guarantee you, you will pay forever.
We also have DNA from her fingernails, probably the strongest we have.
Despite frequent pleas to the public for help and a reward of almost $300,000, the case went cold.
And I am right now a broken woman. But I will state this. I have 110% confidence that this person will be caught.
Seeing him, please. Demon. He's a demon.
Vetrano's grieving parents in court Sunday at Lewis's arraignment, her distraught mother shouting to the suspect in the courtroom. Police say Lewis has no criminal record and had never even met Vetrano before that August afternoon. The motive? Police say a chance encounter with a man they call, quote, unhinged.
We have had a lot of leads in this case, and each one was vetted painstakingly by detectives. Long case.
The NYPD says they received over 250 leads and tested over 600 DNA samples, each one a dead end. But one cop's hunch broke this case wide open. Lieutenant John Russo recalls seeing a man he saw near the crime scene months before the murder.
One of my lieutenants who works in my office lives there. He followed up on a memory of his when someone was stopped for suspicious behavior in that community. And we started to look at Chanel Lewis even tighter, and we started to see some things that disturbed us.
Police pored over old complaints, discovering a 911 call from the spring. They say that gave them Lewis's name, which led them to 3 prior summonses, all connecting Lewis to the area. Authorities first met with Lewis last Thursday at his apartment, where they say he voluntarily submitted to a DNA test, which came back as a match to DNA discovered at the crime scene.
You got to remember, Karina helped us identify this person. She had the DNA under her nails that we got it from her.
We spoke to former NYPD detective Nick Casale about the case.
She reportedly put up a very strong fight, and they said there was DNA under her fingernails. How important is something like that to an investigation?
The DNA evidence that they were able to gather at the crime scene from the victim and around the victim was matched against databases.
There was not a match.
There were no matches on known DNA files.
Then what?
Well,
when there's no match, where do you go from there?
Detective work. Nobody didn't get looked at. As we say in Brooklyn, everybody was given that once over.
And on Saturday, Lewis was taken into custody.
These things take time. Difficult cases, but you don't stop. There's there's a resilience here and vigilance here every day that they did, and that's what solved the case.
Police say Lewis allegedly gave multiple detailed incriminating statements to officers while in custody and is now charged with second-degree murder.
In this case, 6 months go by without any major break. How much pressure does that put on a police department in a high-profile case like this?
Sadly, it puts a lot of pressure, and rightfully so. The people want to know, the media wants to know, to tell the people. The family, first and foremost, wants to know.
And how certain are police that they've got their man now?
I think that they're very certain. They had enough to make the arrest, and now the community should be safe and the family should be relieved.
Police also say Vetrano was sexually assaulted, but Lewis has not been charged with sexual assault, and police say has denied any suggestion of that.
This case is in its infancy. Typically, prosecutors bring holding charges, but it is quite possible, and it's often the case, that the sexual assault charges and other charges will be brought in later.
Lewis attended a school for students with special needs. His family is adamant about his innocence.
He's a wonderful young man. Wonderful young man.
The cops is setting him up. The cops need to go do their job and find the real killer and take my brother out of jail. He's a black man. Because he's a white person, they're framing my brother.
The Legal Aid Society, who will represent Lewis, saying in a statement, "We're spending this critical time getting to know our client and his family and reviewing all the facts associated with this case. We caution everyone, including the media, not to rush to immediate judgment. Mr. Lewis is entitled to fairness and due process."
What I think is the biggest concern here is whether or not this suspect has a mental deficiency. There's a different test that needs to take place in determining whether or not he voluntarily gave his DNA, whether or not he was coerced into confessions.
Lewis is being held without bail. He's scheduled to next appear in court on February 21st. For now, there is at least some solace for the Vetranos, who after 6 months of searching for their daughter's killer, finally believe they found the answer.
I'm not going to say it's a good day, but we can move forward now.
For Nightline, I'm Mara Schiavocampo in New York.